Okay. Man. Busy day. Y'all. Busy day. Shannon, Ghostgate. We're working on a theory presentable for the Discord group. It's hard. I just need to write a book. What is the theory? I'm very curious. I'm very curious as to what this is all about. You guys got to let me know if the music is too loud. Otherwise, I'm going to leave it right where it's at. Oh, Kat is present. Beautiful people. Yeah, Mikkel, I was on board with you. And then I think I saw someone in Discord say that we were wrong. I think some of that would come down to, it's like any of these other books, right? There are multiple versions. So perhaps Yahweh is in a version that I saw it in passing, so I might be misrepresenting what they said, but I thought that somebody in the group had said that Yahweh is in Enoch. I don't believe it's in the version that we have. I did some flipping, I did some searching even, and I did not find it. So unless it's spelled in an obscure way, I don't believe we have it in the version that we are reading out of, at least. I don't believe that we have it. But I could be wrong. I could definitely be wrong. All right, I'm going to take these freaking headphones off. So if anybody joins the voice chat in Discord, just know that I can't hear you. So if you do join the voice chat because you want to talk, then you got to let me know in the YouTube chat. And then I will put the headphones back on. But I'm tired of wearing them just for fun. Because it's not fun. It's not fun. All right, how's the music? How's everything else? Everything sound all right? We good to go once the time is upon us, which is basically right now. I'm a scrub. I don't currently have a computer. You don't have a computer? Dude, I don't know if I'd survive. I'm so technologically inclined. I'm glued to screens all day, and it's definitely not healthy. It's not a good thing. By the way, how do I tag people like that? Is it possible on mobile? Honestly, dude, I don't know. It works on computer. If I go at Ghostgate, blah, blah. But it doesn't even notify you. So I don't know. Tags are kind of pointless as far as I can tell in YouTube live streams. Because the person they're not aware of it unless they see it anyways. So you could just like all caps, whoever's name you're trying to get their attention, and then tell them whatever you wanted to tell them. I haven't had a computer in 10 years. Yeah, no, you haven't. I mean, if you don't do anything technologically like advanced, like something that it makes sense to have a computer, I don't know why you would. I mean, cell phones are computers nowadays. All these smartphones, the Samsungs, the iPhones, they're all computers, man. They're just mini computers. They have the same capacity. It's just annoying to use them if you do things that it's nice to have a keyboard and mouse. That's really the only difference. Mystic. Girl, what's going on? We won't find the word tree in a Japanese book about forests either. I bet we'll find descriptions of trees in that Japanese book, though. Fair enough. Fair enough. I'm here, you nerds. How's everyone's night? Graves. I think the correct term would be geek. Isn't that the correct term for people who are tech nerds? Wouldn't they be called geeks? Do I qualify as a geek? Am I in that classification? TikTok, go to YouTube, same username, Tattoo Theist. You're not going to be able to see anything. So you will just be hearing me, and that's... I mean, I wouldn't want to just hear me. I guess I'll just say that. We all do. His video is called Why There Is No Proof of God. Wait, what? What did I miss? You ever wonder why it is that if God exists, there's no proof or even strong evidence for his existence? Well, inspiring philosophy has an interesting explanation. I gotta be honest with you, I don't like inspiring philosophy. I've really tried to get into it because I keep getting recommended by a bunch of people. I don't know if it's the way that the content's presented or if it's the attitude that they seem to have. I'm not sure, but I'm not a huge fan. Not a huge fan. But I would say, this is what I would say back to that. I'd say a lot of people believe in a lot of things that there's really no evidence for. We've just kind of come to accept them as societies. God's really not a whole lot different. However, I would say there's a lot of evidence for God. There's not evidence like Nancy Drew, Hardy Boys evidence, like muddy footprints in the mudroom, you know, going through the kitchen. There's not that kind of evidence, but there's a lot of evidence all around you. One of the things I would tell you to look into if you haven't is the Fibonacci sequence. It's evidence of an intelligent designer, whether you want to call it God or not. Our entire universe, or at the very least, our physical world, is mathematic. It's not an accident, man. That doesn't just randomly happen. In regards to the Holy Trinity in Enoch, we can infer our way into it by Lord of Spirits, Head of Days, there you go, and Son of Man. Interesting. That's a fair take, I think, Mikkel. That's a fair take. There's evidence of God everywhere. There you go. It's a matter of understanding terms and ontological characteristics. Yes. There's evidence of God all over the place. If you really get into it, there's evidence all over the place. But if you've never looked at Fibonacci, the Fibonacci sequence found in nature and found in human psychological behavior, I would urge you to do that. Half of how the stock market works is Fibonacci. It's all math, and it's still contingent upon human beings' actions. So they have to take an action, but the entire market, the entire open market, is built off of Fibonacci, which is also ironically found in nature. Yeah, mystic. Fibonacci sequence is wild. I love it so much. It's amazing. It's amazing. If you really get into it, it's amazing. It's incredible. It'll blow your mind. I meant visible proof, not evidence in general. Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. So there's no Hardy Boys, Nancy Drew, muddy footprint evidence of God. But even that, I would say there kind of is, man. Like, there kind of is. Otherwise, how did all of this happen? And why are things like Fibonacci? Why is that how our universe is built? In a very sequential, mathematical, geometrical manner. That is evidence. And maybe not God, maybe not the Christian God. Let's throw the Christian God out the garbage right now. Throw that God out. It is proof of something intelligent designing our lives, designing our universe, designing nature. Don't care what you call it. You don't have to subscribe to Christianity, but there is absolute evidence of an intelligent designer. What you choose to land on and who the intelligent designer or what it is, you know, that's open for discussion for sure. But that there is an intelligent designer, I feel like that is pretty apparent in my opinion. Fully agree. I have a story that happened to me just last week. However, in the Hebrew language, there is no such thing as coincidence. Isn't it like in Japanese, there's no word for no? Is that real? I feel like I actually heard that on a TV show, so somebody fact check that. But I want to say one of the Asian cultures doesn't have a word for no. But maybe it was Chuck where I heard that. I think that was in Chuck actually. So let's not take that as fact. It's a 20-year-old show. Ghostgate, is there evidence of our conceptual representation of God everywhere or of a non-being everywhere? The fact that you can ask if God exists is evidence in and of itself. Awareness, consciousness can't spontaneously generate. You're assuming order rather than chaos just by asking the question. Yes. There's way too much order in what atheists claim is a random outcome. We are all random outcomes. Then why is everything so mathematical and geometric? That's not random. It's very well thought out. Or at the very least, it was done intentionally. Couldn't tell you that, but having a Jewish husband has its perks. Yeah, it does, doesn't it? All right, we're going to go in a second. Real quick. Anybody who is not in the Discord, but I'm pretty sure all of you already are. So just listen to me bang around for a second. Discord, one thing I guess has changed for everybody. You cannot send me a DM anymore because it was getting to be way too much, and then it wasn't fair, like who I was able to respond to, who I wasn't. So that DMs are gone for me. So if you can't figure out how to DM me, that is why. I'm genuinely sorry about it, but I held off as long as I could. I couldn't do it anymore. So that is still available if you do end up signing up for the VIP section. I think the lowest amount is like $4 a month. So it's not like something crazy. But there's a section here to be able to DM me there. So if you really, really have the need, which I don't see why anybody would, but if you really want to, you can do it through there. The other thing that's going to happen with the VIP section soon is that we are going to start a third stream per week. It'll be public for everybody on YouTube like normal for probably a month or two. And then after that, it will stream directly through Discord. It won't hit YouTube at all, so that the people who do decide to help us out financially to keep all this stuff running and keep me attentive, they need some value. They need added value. So we're going to do that. But if you need to get into the Discord, or if you're watching this later via a recording, I will get you a link in here in just a second. As soon as I figure it out, man, I'm all over the place right now. Kat, I blame you for that. I blame you for that. All right, I got to figure it out. Here you go. Okay, Discord link. Discord link. And we are continuing. What is this, part 9? I think it's part 9. Part 9 of Enoch. After every major section, I will stop and take a look at the chat. Otherwise, I'm going to try to burn through it this evening because I have something I have to do when we get off. Stop blaming your wife for your shortcomings. Oh, I think she would back me up on this one. I'll just say that. I'm flustered. That is all that I have to say. We're on chapter 70. As soon as I, pop the Bible up so that you can actually see it. We are on chapter 70. And it came to pass after this that during his lifetime, his name was raised up to the Son of Man. There you go, Mikkel. There is one of your Trinity hits. And to the Lord of Spirits, there is 2 of your Trinity hits, from among those who dwell on the earth. And he was raised aloft on the chariots of the Spirit, and his name vanished among them. And from that day, I was no longer numbered among them, and he placed me between the 2 winds, between the north and the west, where the angels took the cords to measure the place from the elect and righteous for me. And there I saw the first fathers and the righteous who dwell in that place from the beginning. I think we actually left off on 71. So there's a very short recap. You're shifting the burden of proof. I could say it right back to you, bud. And it came to pass after this that my spirit was translated or carried off, and it descended into heaven. And I saw the sons of the holy angels, sons of God. They were walking on flames of fire. Their garments were white, and their faces shone like snow. And I saw 2 rivers of fire, and the light of that fire shone like I don't know this word, but I feel like I should know this word. Hyankith? I feel like I know this word. I'm slightly embarrassed. And I fell on my face before the Lord of Spirits, and the angel, Michael, one of the archangels, seized me by my right hand, very specific, and lifted me up and led me out into all the secrets, And he showed me all the secrets of righteousness. And he showed me all the secrets of the ends of heaven, and all the storehouses of all the stars and all the lights from where they proceed before the face of the holy ones. And he translated or carried my spirit into heaven of heavens. And I saw there, as it were built of crystals, and between those crystals, tongues of living fire. Revelation, least favorite book, 21, 10 through 11, 10 and 11. And he carried me away in the spirit to a great and high mountain, and shewed me that great city, the holy Jerusalem, descending out of heaven from God, having the glory of God. And her light was like unto a stone most precious, even like a jasper stone, clear as crystal. My spirit saw a circle of fire binding around the house of fire, and on its 4 sides were rivers full of living fire, and they encircled that house. And round about were seraphim, cherubim, and Ophanim. And these are they who never sleep, and they guard the throne of his glory. And I saw angels who could not be counted, 1,000 thousands, and 10,000 times 10,000, encircling that house. And Michael and Raphael and Gabriel and Phanuel and the holy angels who are in heaven above go in and out of that house. Interesting. So I'm going to read that again. And I saw angels who could not be counted, 1,000 thousands, and 10,000 times 10,000, encircling that house. And Michael and Raphael and Gabriel and Phanuel and the holy angels who are in heaven above go in and out of that house. Go in and out of that house. And they came out from that house, and Michael and Gabriel, Raphael and Phanuel, and many holy angels without number. There's kind of a significance there right? It's a differentiating way of expression. What the significance is, hopefully we're going to wander into, but it's something, if you care about this stuff and you're weird like me and you're going to look at it later and try to connect dots and put a murder board up with yarn and twine and circles and stuff, that's something just to keep in mind, that there's differentiating verbiage here. Something to just keep in mind. 10. And with them the head of days, his head white and pure as wool, and his raiment indescribable. And I fell on my feet and fell on my face, and my whole body melted, and my spirit was transformed or transfigured. And I cried with a loud voice in the spirit of power, and I blessed and glorified and exalted. Psalm 22, 14 and 15. I am poured out like water, and all my bones are out of joint. My heart is like wax. It is melted in the midst of my bowels. My strength is dried up like a potsherd, and my tongue cleaveth to my jaws. And thou hast brought me into the dust of death. 12. And these blessings which came from my mouth were very pleasing before that head of days. There's your head of days, Michael. And the head of days came with Michael and Gabriel, Raphael and Phanuel, and thousands and 10,000 of angels without number. There's that differentiator again. And the angel came to me and greeted me with his voice and said to me, this is the Son of Man who is born to righteousness. There you go. So there's an indication right there. We've now hit all of the Trinity as Mikkel had laid it out for us there in the chat a few minutes ago. There's all your terms, all hit. Who is born in righteousness, and righteousness abides over him, and the righteousness of the head of days forsakes him not. 15. And he said to me, he proclaims to you peace in the name of the world to come. For from there peace has proceeded since the creation of the world, and it shall be with you forever and ever to come and ever. John 17:24. Father, I will that they also, whom thou hast given me, be with me where I am, that they may behold my glory which thou hast given me. For thou lovest me before the foundation of the world. 16. And all shall walk in his ways, since righteousness never forsook him. Their dwelling place shall be with him, and it will be their heritage, and they shall not be separated from him forever and ever. And so there shall be length of days with the Son of Man, and the righteous shall have peace and an upright way in the name of the Lord of spirits forever and ever. Hebrews 4:3. And then I'm going to go into the chat. 1 second. For we which have believed do enter into rest, as he said, as I have sworn in my wrath, if they shall enter into my rest, although the works were finished from the foundation of the world. I read chapter 72. I want to see where this proof of God conversation went real quick, and then we'll go right back in. I'm being logically consistent. Buzzwords don't work on me. Bam. Like you committed a black and white fallacy. I mean, you only presented two options without adequately justifying why they... So here's the thing. Right, Raiv, I wish I knew how to say your name. Do you at least recognize that there are dozens, if not hundreds, of things that people believe that there is no evidence for? We seem to pick on this concept of God, but it's everywhere. Right now, we live in a culture where, and I'm about to be a total asshole, and I recognize that, and here's my apology ahead of time. I'm very sorry for being an asshole, but we live in an age right now where nothing is real, right? We live in an age where I can be whatever I want to be because I feel like it. There's no proof of that. If I come out and say that I'm a woman, and I do not mean any disrespect, this is how I personally feel. It's my personal opinion. I'm entitled to it, just like anybody who believes this stuff is entitled to it. If I come out and say that I'm a woman today, nobody's asking for proof of that, right? It's logically inconsistent. It's scientifically untrue. And if we were to try to provide physical evidence, it would only prove that we were lying or that we were delusional. So now more than ever, we live in a culture, in a state, in a period where we don't question things, even when there's very obvious evidence that points out what the answer is. Yet still we're picking on this concept of God, when as Ghostgate, as Mikkel, as somebody else said, it's all around you. It's all around you. Just because there's no muddy footprints walking somewhere doesn't mean there's not evidence for it. And as Ghostgate said, using these buzzwords At least with the people that I know here, it's not going to work on them or throw them off. These people are past that. If you go to a normal Christian cultural area and you throw out the buzzwords, they'll probably get a little bit stumped and a little bit uncomfortable, but it's just not going to happen here. That's my guess. That's my guess. If I know any of these people as well as I think that I do. There's my rant, and then we'll go back into the book here. You know they didn't evolve because if laws can evolve, then there is no definition to anything. They're called constant for a reason. If they weren't constant, we couldn't make predictions. Yeah. Joe, would you please read quick Matthew 5:9 for the whole cult? For the whole cult. Yeah, give me 1 second. Let me get the good old Bible hub up here. All right, Matthew 5:9. Mikkel wants the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 5, verse 9. Just killing time because it takes me forever to get where I need in Bible Hub. I don't like the way that the UI is set up. I'm almost there, so just be patient. Just be patient for one more second. And there it is. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. Oh, now I feel like that was kind of directed at me. Mikkel, was that a slight to me? I accept it. It's okay. I accept it. I could have been nicer. I'm sorry. But I did preemptively apologize. I like Bible Gateway. My problem is every time I go to it, it makes me log in and I never remember to do it before the stream. That's my issue. It's for the whole cult. I'll take that. I'm still going to take it a little bit personally. I'm going to reflect on that later, Mikkel. I'm going to reflect on it later. All right, chapter 72, the book of astronomy and calendar. Chapters 72 through 82, you got an author's note right here. That author note says this: full description of the calendar and its application in the prophecy are discussed in the section, the calendar of Enoch's and Daniel's prophecies, starting on page 158. We are currently on page 96, so we will get there. Verse 1 here, the book of the courses of the luminaries of heaven, the relations of each, according to their name, origin, and months, dominion and seasons, which Uriel, the holy angel, who was what? He was with him, who is their guide, showed me, and he showed me all their laws or regulations exactly as they are, and how it is with each of the years of the world and to eternity, until the new creation is accomplished, which endures until eternity. And this is the first law of the luminaries, and luminary, the sun, has its rising in the eastern doors of heaven, and its setting in the western doors of heaven. And I saw 6 doors in which the sun rises, and 6 doors in which the sun sets, and the moon rises and sets in those doors, and the leaders of the stars and those whom they lead, 6 in the east and 6 in the west, and all following each other in accurately corresponding order. There were also many windows to the right and left of these doors. And first, there goes out the great luminary named the sun, and his sphere, orbit disk, is like the sphere or orbit disk of heaven, and he is quite filled with illuminating and heating fire. The chariot on which he ascends, the wind drives, and the sun goes down from heaven and returns through the north in order to reach the east, and is so guided that he comes to the appropriate door and shines in the face of heaven. This just sounds like poetry. He's very poetic, man. He's very poetic. I don't even know what buzzword Ghost is talking about anyways, and also we can't pretend like there's no convincing proof and logic behind atheist beliefs. What do you mean? They don't believe in anything. That's an interesting way to phrase that. We can't pretend like there's no convincing proof and logic behind atheist beliefs. Their belief is nothing. That's the trick, right? They believe that there's nothing to believe in. They believe that everything is an accident. I definitely don't agree. You mentioned Fibonacci earlier. You think that's an accident? That seems pretty illogical to me. Rationally illogical. To think that the Fibonacci sequence we find in nature, I'll get back to the reading in a second. The Fibonacci sequence we find in nature and in human psychology, just coincidentally, 1, that it exists is a coincidence, and 2, that human psychology matches nature, which is built off of Fibonacci. That's tough, man. That's tough to rationalize that is random. I have a hard time with that. The chariots on which he ascends, the wind, we read that. In this way, he rises in the first month in the great door, which is the 4th And in that fourth door from which the sun rises, in the first month are 12 windows from which proceed a flame when they are opened in their season. When the sun rises in heaven, he comes out through that fourth door 30 mornings in succession and sets accurately in the fourth door in the west of heaven. And during this period, the day becomes daily longer and nights grow shorter to the 30th morning. On that day, the day is longer than the night by the 9th part, and the day amounts exactly to 10 parts, and the night to 8 parts. I might just be stupid, but I'm going to read it one more time. I want a little bit of clarity. Verse 9 and 10. And during this period, the day becomes daily longer, and nights grow shorter to the 30th morning. On that day, the day is longer than the night by a 9th part, and the day amounts exactly to 10 parts, and the night to 8 parts. There's our riddle for the day. And the sun rises from that fourth door and sets in the fourth and returns to the fifth door of the east 30 mornings, and rises from it and sets in the fifth door. And then the day becomes longer by 2 parts and amounts to 11 parts, and the night becomes shorter and amounts to 7 parts. Here's the thing. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I fully grasp this part. So the calendar that we read about in Enoch, I've always kind of had a hard time with. Part of it is because I'm not particularly interested in it because it's not theological per se. It's not theological. And partly, I think just because it doesn't click for me and I've never had anybody explain it to me. So here's my challenge to you guys. If any of you gets this, like truly gets it, I understand what we're reading, but what I'm asking is if any of you out there fully grasp the calendar concept, which you not only find here, but I can send you some other resources that reflect off of Enoch. If anybody really gets it, I would love to have you come on and explain it to everybody one week because it's genuinely difficult to understand. It'd be awesome. It'd be real great. All right, I'm going to try to get to a stopping place. And then the day becomes longer by 2 parts and amounts to 11 parts. We already read this, but we're going to keep going. And the night becomes shorter and amounts to 7 parts. Verse 13, and it returns to the east and enters into the 6th door and rises and sets in the 6th door 1 and 30 mornings on account of its sign. And that day, the day becomes longer than the night, and the day becomes double the night, and the day becomes 12 parts, and the night is shortened and becomes 6 parts half. And the sun mounts up to make the day shorter and the night longer, and the sun returns to the east and enters into the 6th door and rises from it and sets 30 mornings. And when 30 mornings are accomplished, the day decreases by exactly 1 part and becomes 11 parts, and the night 7. And the sun goes out from that 6th door in the west and goes to the east and rises in the 5th door for 30 mornings and sets in the west again in the 5th western door. If you're not confused yet, just wait. There's more. On that day, the day decreases by 2 parts and amounts to 10 parts, and the night to 8 parts. And the sun goes out from that 5th door and sets in the 5th door of the west and rises in the 4th door for 1 and 30 mornings on account of its sign, and sets in the west. On that day, the day becomes equal with the night in length, and the night amounts to 9 parts, and the day to 9 parts. And the sun rises from that door and sets in the west, and returns to the east, and rises 30 mornings in the 3rd door, and sets in the west in the 3rd door. And on that day, the night becomes longer than the day, flipping again, and night becomes longer than night. Come on, Enoch. And night becomes longer than night, and day shorter than day, until the 30th morning. And the night amounts exactly to 10 parts, and the day to 8 parts. And the sun rises from that 3rd door, and sets in the 3rd door in the west, and returns to the east, and for 30 mornings rises in the 2nd door in the east, and in like manner sets the 2nd door in the west of heaven. And on that day, the night amounts to 11 parts and the day to 7 parts. And the sun rises on that day from that 2nd door and sets in the west in the 2nd door and returns to the east into the 1st door for 1 and 30 mornings and sets in the 1st door in the west of heaven. And on that day, the night becomes longer and amounts to the double of the day. And the night amounts exactly to 12 parts and the day to 6. Here's an author's note. It's very short, so I doubt it's going to help us. If the night is 12 parts and the day is 6 parts, the entire 24-hour day is divided into 18 sections of 80 minutes each. Okay, I was wrong. That was actually very helpful. So I'm gonna read it again. You got the author's note here. It says this: if the night is 12 parts and the day is 6 parts, the entire 24-hour day is divided into 18 sections of 80 minutes each. So 80-minute sections, 18 sections, they create your 24-hour day. And the sun has traversed the divisions of its orbit and turns again on those divisions of its orbit and enters that door 30 mornings and sets also in the west opposite to it. And on that night has the night decreased in length by a 9th part, and the night has become 11 parts, and the day 7 parts. And the sun is returned and entered into the second door in the east, and returns on those his divisions of his orbit for 30 mornings, rising and setting. And on that day the night decreases in length, and the night amounts to 10 parts, and the day to 8. And on that day, the sun rises from that door and sets in the west and returns to the east and rises in the third door from 1:30 mornings and sets in the west of heaven. And on that day, the night decreases and amounts to 9 parts and the day to 9 parts, and the night is equal to the day, and the year is exactly as to its days, 364. 364. And the length of the day and the night and the shortness of the day and of the night arise through the course of the sun. These distinctions are separated. So it comes that its course becomes daily longer and its course nightly shorter. And this is the law and the course of the great luminary, which is named the sun, and his return as often as he returns 60 times and rises forever and ever. And that which rises is the great luminary, and is so named according to its appearance, according as the Lord commanded. As he rises, so he sets and decreases not, and rests not, but runs day and night. And his light is 7-fold brighter than that of the moon. But in regard to size, they are both equal. Here's a question I have for anybody who's science driven. Today, do we teach that the moon and the sun are of equal size? That's all. Not a trick question. Chapter 73. Let me see if I missed anything important. Amanda Gertz. Sounds like summer and winter solstice. Yeah, you're getting a vibe like that, right? Definitely getting a solstice vibe. You can't convince a believer of any form, for their belief is not based on evidence, it's based on deep-seated need to believe. Carl Sagan. Yeah, some dude's quote does not base reality. This is kind of the point that I feel like I've missed a lot in the chat, so I'm not going to talk out of turn. But throwing quotes out and throwing debate buzzwords out, I don't do it. It's worthless here. But Carl Sagan's quote doesn't mean anything. And this is the wrong group again. One, because I'm not a traditional Christian, and I guarantee I talk more trash about the Christian faith than any atheist that steps foot in here, beyond a shadow of a doubt. I believe things because they make sense, because they're logical, and because it's rational. The parts of Christianity that are irrational and illogical and don't align with history, I don't believe, which is why people don't call me a Christian. So quotes like that, you can throw them out, but they don't apply here. There's plenty of other mainstream Christian YouTube streams I'm sure you could go to. These arguments would probably fit there, and you get a lot of people to argue with you, and you probably have a good time, but you're probably not going to have a good time here. That's a good point, Ghost. Yeah. He inadvertently commits the same sin. Sagan, within that quote. The sun rises, the birds sing, dog barks. Ghostgate loves everyone here no matter what. This is similar to what we've talked about before. If bad things in nature just happen rather than are evil. Yeah, I mean, that's a $1 million question. Bad things that happen. Are they all coincidence? Are they all products of evil, like demonic energy type shit? Who knows? What do you mean he commits the same sin, Ghost? He means that he's saying his belief. Carl Sagan is saying his belief about people who are believers. It's hypocritical. It's a hypocrisy of a statement. Why? Because you believe. No one minds or cares what you believe or don't believe in. How open-minded are you willing to be? Yeah, more than anything else, I could care less what anybody here believes. I could care less if you're Christian or if you're Jewish or if you're Muslim or if you're atheist. I could not care less. I could not possibly care less. I don't think it's lazy and it's not a sin. It's definitely a sin. It's a rational sin to say what he said. And it's, yeah, not a Christian sin. Not a Christian sin. Mikkel with the Greek. Good man. Good man. I think you don't assume God is the product of random chance or intelligent design. I think you don't assume God is the product of random chance or intelligent design. That's going right over my head. No one's trying to win arguments. No comment. The sun's diameter is about, here you go. Thank you, Michael. The sun's diameter is about 400 times larger than that of the moon, and the sun is also about 400 times further from Earth. So the sun and the moon appear to me nearly the same size as seen from the Earth. Interesting. Interesting. I got to look at it. Because I feel like I grew up being taught that they are not the same size. Regardless of distance and perspective and things like that. I believe that I was taught many, many years ago that they were of different size. So I'd be interested to see, because if they are different sizes and the Bible is saying, Enoch, I regard as the Bible. If the Bible is saying that they are of the same size, this is one of those examples of the Bible is not inerrant because it contains mistakes. Even if this is not a good example because perhaps they are the same size. There are a lot of examples like this. The Bible is not an inerrant book. It has mistakes. There are mistakes about bats not being mammals. It has mistakes. I just got reamed by somebody on YouTube the other day because I said that the Bible is not inerrant. I quote Carl Sagan, if we can say that God has always existed, why not save a step and conclude that the universe has always existed? Why could they not be one and the same? Why does the universe have to be separate from God? The thing that I think you don't understand is that your view is no different than our view. You just see it differently. So if you want to say that the universe has always existed, that's fine. The difference between us is that I don't care that you believe that. You seem to care that I believe that God has always existed. That is the issue. And I can't speak for ghosts, but that's my issue with these kinds of comments and these kinds of conversations, is you have no problem rationalizing your viewpoint, which is just as irrational as my viewpoint. I get that, and I respect the fact that you could believe that, and I could care less. But you don't respect the fact that other people would think opposite to you. And it's hard to have a conversation with somebody in an intelligent manner when that's the dynamic. When you're allowed to believe something irrational, but the other person is not allowed to believe something irrational, it's a worthless conversation. It's a totally worthless conversation. Because we can measure the universe's beginning, therefore it would be hard to prove an eternal universe. Can we measure the universe's beginning, or can we measure the Earth's beginning? Because I feel like even measuring the Earth's beginning, as it changes every 5 years. They give us new numbers every 5 years. I didn't know we had any idea how old the universe was. We don't even know where the universe extends to. I could be wrong because I don't care about stuff like that, but I'd be interested. My understanding is that we don't even know what the universe consists of fully. So how could we ever know the age of it? The lesson is that they do look the same size from down here. Yeah, they seem to, right? The lesson is that we can see solar and lunar eclipses. That alone is extremely improbable. It almost as if it's clockwork. Oh, almost as if it's designed. Carl Sagan ain't gonna win an argument. Quotes aren't gonna win an argument. In the flat earth model, here we go, dumb cat. Yes, let's go. In the flat earth model, the sun and the moon are roughly the same size. You can use geometry to calculate the distance of the sun from the earth. I've done it. Result was about 3,400 miles away. Interesting. I don't know, so I can't say anything about that. This is something I'm going to look at later, though. Microwave background radiation. Yes. I have a hard time trusting that they know the age of anything, NASA especially, because NASA is propaganda. I added the propaganda part. I think the universe might be eternal, but I don't know how to prove that. Yeah, I don't know. I think the universe in and of itself is kind of one to one with God. But I also don't see God as like a specific entity with characteristics and a personality. I don't believe that, which I get is not a Christian belief. So there's a good example of how I don't align. I think God is just morality, essentially, is goodness. It's a confusing deal here. All right, chapter 73. What time is it? 41. And after this law, I saw another law dealing with the smaller luminary, which is named the moon. And her orbit is like the sphere orbit disk of heaven, and her chariot is which she rides, is driven by the wind. And the light is given to her in measurement, and her rising and setting change every month, and her days are like the days of the sun. And when her light is uniformly or completely full, it amounts to the 7th part of the light of the sun. And thus she rises, and her first phase in the east comes out on the 30th morning, and on that day she becomes visible and constitutes for you the first phase of the moon on the 30th day, together with the sun in the door where the sun rises. And the 1/2 of her goes out by a 7th part, and her whole disk is empty, without light, with the exception of 1/7 part of it, and the 14th part of her light. And when she receives 1/7 part of the half of her light amounts to 1/7 part, the half thereof. And she sets with the sun, and when the sun rises, the moon rises with him and receives the half of 1 part of light. And in that night, in the beginning of her morning, in the beginning of the lunar day, the moon sets with the sun and is invisible that night with the 14th part and the half of 1 of them. And she rises on that day with exactly a 7th part, and comes out and recedes from the rising of the sun. And in her remaining days, she becomes bright in the remaining 13 parts. And I saw another course, a law for her, and how according to that law, she performs her monthly revolution. And all these, Uriel, the holy angel who is the leader of them all, showed to me and their positions, and I wrote down their positions as he showed them to me. And I wrote down their months as they were, and the appearance of their lights until 15 days were accomplished. In the single 7th part, she accomplishes all her light in the east, and in a single 7th part, 7th parts, accomplishes all her darkness in the west. And in certain months, she alters her settings. And in certain months, she pursues her own peculiar course. In 2 months, the moon sets with the sun. In those 2 middle doors, the 3rd and the 4th, she goes out for 7 days and turns about and returns again through the door where the sun rises. And all her light is full. And she recedes from the sun, and in the 8th and in 8 days enters the 6th door from which the sun goes out. And when the sun goes out from the 4th door, she goes out 7 days. Until she goes out from the 5th and turns back again in 7 days into the 4th door and accomplishes all her light, and she recedes and enters into the 1st door in 8 days. And she returns again in 7 days into the 4th door from which the sun goes out. Thus I saw their positions, how the moon rose and the sun set in those days. And if 5 years are added together, the sun has an excess of 30 days, and all the days which accrue to it for one of those 5 years, when they are full, amount to 364 days. And an excess of sun and of the stars amount to 6 days, and 5 years, 6 days every year come to 30 days. And the moon falls behind the sun and stars to the number of 30 days. And the sun and the stars bring in all the years exactly, so that they do not advance or delay their position by a single day to eternity, but complete the years with perfect justice in 364 days. In 3 years, there are 1,092 days, and in 5 years, 1,820 days, so that in 8 years, there are 2,912 days. Author's note here. At the end of 5 years, a week may be added to bring the year back in line. Compare 1826.25 days of the solar year in 5 years to 1820 days of the Enochian. I'm having a hard time tonight. Enochian calendar after 5 years. This leaves 6.25 days difference. Kat, if you're listening, can you bring me tea? Like 5 of them. Adding a week to the Iconian calendar leaves a difference of only 0.75 of a day. The years is adjusted in this way so that the alignment is kept very close. Interesting. For the moon alone, the days amount in 3 years to 1,062 days. And in 5 years, she falls 50 days behind to the sun of 1770. There is 5 to be added, 1,062 days. Verse 15. And in 5 years, there are 1770 days, so that for the moon, the days 6 and 8 years amount to 21,832 days. For in 8 years, she falls behind to the amount of 80 days. All the days she falls behind in 8 years are 80. And the year is accurately completed in conformity with their world stations and the stations of the sun, which rise from the doors through which the sun rises and sets, 30 days. Chapter 75. And the leaders of the heads of the 10,000, who are in charge of the whole creation and over all the stars, have also to do with the 4 days of the year which are not counted in the yearly calendar, being not separated from their office according to the reckoning of the year. And these render service on the 4 days which are not counted in the reckoning of the year. And because of them, men go wrong in them. For those luminaries truly render service to the stations of the world, one in the first door, one on the third door of heaven, one in the fourth door, and one in the sixth door. And the exactness of the year is accomplished through its separate 364 stations. For the signs and the times and the years and the days of the angel Uriel showed me, whom the Lord of glory hath set forever over all the luminaries of heaven, in heaven and in the world, that they should rule on the face of heaven and be seen on the earth, and be leaders for the day via the sun, and the night via the moon, and the stars, and all the ministering creatures which make their revolution, and all the chariots of heaven. In like manner, 12 doors Uriel showed me, open in the sphere or disk of the sun's chariot in heaven, through which the rays of the sun break out, and from them is warmth diffused over the earth, where they are opened at their appointed seasons. And there are openings for the wind and the spirit of the dew, that when they are opened, stand open in heaven at the ends of the earth. As for the 12 doors of heaven at the ends of the earth, out of which go out the sun, moon, and stars, and all the works of heaven in the east and in the west. There are many windows open to the left and right of them. And one window at its appointed season produces warmth corresponding to the doors from which these stars come out as he has commanded them, and in which they are set corresponding to their numbers. And I saw chariots in heaven running in the world above those doors in which these stars that never set. And one is larger than all the rest, and it is that makes its course through the entire world. That's a lot. This is a lot. Here is my question. The discs. I know I wasn't going to say anything. I'm glad you said it. Yeah, the discs. The mention of the discs, man. The Earth is a CD-ROM disc. Anybody who doesn't know what that is, you're under 18 years old, probably. All right, here's my question based on what we've read so far. Here's my question. Is anything we've read tonight, should any of it be considered essential? Theologically, from a view of doctrine, from a, let's say, traditional Christian stance, because that's not me. From a traditional Christian stance, should any of this be considered essential? Does any of it really matter? Or are these things that are interesting, should be explored, perhaps, but that nothing hinges on what it means, on its reality. For salvation, no. For curiosity's sake, sure. So, but that's not essential, right? Curiosity is not essential as far as doctrine goes, or as far as you said, salvation goes. So if we're talking, let's say we are the leaders of Christianity, okay? We need to bring everybody together. We need to formulate churches and begin preaching and teaching to the masses, right? Is this something we would spend time on? Is it essential? Will we say that if somebody doesn't adhere to anything that we've written tonight, they don't believe it, they think it's all BS, it's all garbage, none of it's true, Enoch was just a psychopath, he was crazy, would that person still be good as far as Christianity goes, as far as their faith goes? Are they still saved? Are they still allowed within the church? Are they still good? Graves, do you mean yes, like it's essential? If you do, I'm curious why. I'm with Ghost. I think this is all very interesting stuff, which is where these are the weeds that I like to get lost in, not specifically calendars, moon cycles, things like that. I don't really care, but similar type of weeds. These are the weeds that I like to get lost in because I find this type of thing very interesting. This specific thing, I don't, but these types of things I find very interesting. Imagine the cargo cults trying to write about the planes that dropped the food during World War II. Yes, I think it would just cause confusion. It's confusing to me. Yeah, dude, it's confusing to me. So anybody who's confused this evening, please don't feel bad. Please don't feel bad because I am wildly confused. And as I said earlier, if anybody out there fully grasps these types of things, the solar cycles, the lunar cycles, the old historical calendars, things like that, you are welcome to come on and school us a little bit. Just let me know, and I will get you in. I will get you in to speak about it. I'll get you in to speak about it because it's not me, man. This is not my expertise here, and I'm wildly confused. If we're being totally honest, the moon may not actually be reflecting light, but giving off its own light, says Dumb Cat. Interesting. Yeah, it reflects light from the sun. The moon isn't its own light source. Do you have proof of that? To go off of, your earlier comment, do you have proof? Is there proof that the moon reflects the sun's light and that the moon is lacking in its own light source? That's something you can say. I doubt you could prove it, which, not to be an asshole, but kind of puts us back in that earlier conversation of everybody believes things that they cannot prove. This is just a reality of our existence as humans on this planet. And we all need to recognize I may be okay believing certain things that there is no proof of. You may be okay believing something like that the sun reflects its light onto the moon and the moon is not its own light source. I might think that's stupid. We need to be able to agree to disagree and not say that you're wrong just because you can't prove your thing, because the reality is I can't prove my thing either. This is the reality of human existence, friends. Yo, what were you beckoning me for? Oh, sorry, baby. Can you bring me tea? Because I'm yawning. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Lovely woman. Moon is hollow like the earth. Y'all need to grow up. The moon is cheese. The moon is cheese. Hollow earth, other alternatives. I think the moon is hollow, the earth is hollow, the sun is hollow, and within all three of them are lizard people. And Hillary Clinton is the lizard queen. These are things I believe. Can I prove it? No. But it's a strong theory. But Enoch is quite fascinating. All the details, names, celestial beings, etc. is so rich. For such ancient texts, 100%. That's why I like Enoch so much, is because sometimes the detail is overwhelming. Sometimes the detail is kind of annoying. But if you read other old near ancient literature, none of it is like Enoch. He's such like a kind of wild outlier into how he wrote, what he chose to write about, and the way that he describes things is very odd. And any of you who are this is all you've read beyond the Bible, you're probably like, whatever. But go read some other stuff, because nobody writes like Enoch. Nobody. During this period, nobody wrote like Enoch that I've ever seen. Somebody prove me wrong, send me something. But I've never seen anybody write the way that Enoch wrote in such great detail and such a poetic manner. It's like he was scared that something would get lost. And so he just wrote everything with as much wild detail as humanly possible. You can just tell he has this crazy need to express this, to get this out, to make people understand it. You can just feel it, man. Like he was on a mission. He was on a mission. Definitely suspect something might be coming up from below one day. Yeah, the hollow earth theory. Most accurate take all night. Oh, I thought you were going to say they were filled with dino chickens. No, but our cult will be filled with dino chickens. That'd be kind of cool though, man. If the hollow earth was just full of dino chickens, just massive chickens. Massive chickens. I'd be pretty happy, honestly. That's true regardless. The Hillary comment. Yeah. I mean, Hillary, if lizard people don't exist, which, let's be real, they don't. Hillary Clinton is still a lizard person. So just because lizard people don't exist, Hillary Clinton is a lizard person, period. Fact. And I can prove that. So, yeah, we're waiting for the resurrection of the dino chickens. We're not going to get too far into the dino chickens. This has already become a very odd stream here. I would substitute Revelations by the book of... Oh, yeah, 100%. I hate the book of Revelation, if you guys have not figured that out by now. I despise that book. I think it's an absolute conspiracy that is meant to confuse people. I'm a huge hater of the book of Revelation. And someday we can get into that. But I absolutely hate it. I much prefer Enoch. I think Enoch should be in the canon. I think it's garbage and it was politics. And I think they're trying to hide things from us. And that is why Enoch is not a part of the canon. I wonder if dino chicken meat is good or not. It's got to be, man. It's got to be. We have dino chicken nuggets. My daughter eats them. And they're delicious. So dino chickens have to be delicious. Journey to the center of the earth. Yeah, what was it? Earlier on in Enoch, there was a reference to the journey to the center of the earth. Who is the guy in that movie? Is that Nicolas Cage?
Jesus, no.
No, not The Rock. I know that is not Nicolas Cage.
No,
but
he wasn't in it. I can't remember the guy's name. Maybe it was Brendan Fraser.
Brendan, I think you're right. Yeah.
Don't come at me, you guys. I don't know.
I think you're right, though. I think you're right. Thank you, baby. Thank you. Yeah, Brendan Fraser. Thank you. Yeah, wasn't it you who pointed it out last time too? Yeah, I'm pretty sure. All right, we're on chapter 76. It's 7 o'clock now. Yeah, we can get through this. All right, we're going to get through 76 and then we're going to stop. And then if there's anything else you guys want to talk about on topic or off topic, we'll spend a little bit of time and then I'm going to head out for the night. I got some stuff I got to do before the work week begins. I'm unprepared for this week. I'm unprepared. All right, 76. At the ends of the earth, I saw 12 doors open to all quarters of heaven from which the winds go out and blow over the earth. 3 of them are open on the face of heaven, and 3 in the west, and 3 on the right of heaven, and 3 on the left. And the 3 first are those of the east, and 3 are of the north, and 3 after those on the left. Of the south, and 3 of the west. Through 4 of these come winds of blessing and prosperity, or peace. Let's pay attention to that distinction. Prosperity, within this context, we are not talking about financial. Just to be clear, peace. And from those 8 come hurtful winds. When they are sent, they bring destruction on all the earth and the water on it, and all who dwell on it, and on everything which is the water, and on the land. And the first wind from those doors, called the east wind, comes out through the first door, which is in the east, inclining towards the south. From its desolation, drought, heat, and destruction come out. And through the second door, in the middle comes what is fitting, right and correct. And there come rain and fruitfulness and prosperity and dew. And through the third door, which lies toward the north, comes cold and drought. And after these comes out the south, winds through 3 doors. Through the first door of them, inclining to the east, comes out a hot wind. God would likely be the one homie that can alter laws, though. No? I would think. Saying that the universe was created out of nothing would violate the law of conservation of mass. But God creating the universe and us out of nothing would also violate the law. Here's the thing, and this is the last thing I'm going to say about this whole conversation. Christians believe things that are irrational, myself included. So atheists coming at Christians, wanting to have a solely rational conversation, one, is definitely not going to come from the Christian side, because we are irrational inherently. We believe in things that we straight up say is by faith alone, not by laws alone, not by science alone, not by sight alone, by literal faith alone. Christians are very open about the fact that we initially and inherently believe in things that you cannot prove. Period. The other side of that, again, which we've had like 4 or 5 that I've seen, and I've been reading most of the time, 4 or 5 representations of things that you have said or that you have kind of pointed out. And again, I'm not picking on you. I love you. I'm glad you're here. But things that you have said or done and that atheists say or do, and I've had tons of debates with atheists that are just as irrational. They're just irrational things that they are okay with. There's no difference. You guys are no different than the hardcore Christians, and you're no different than me. We just choose to be irrational about certain things. I choose to recognize my irrational nature and try to work through it. So that's honestly, that's why I've removed myself from Christianity, because Christianity as a set religion, the way it is, like if you go to a normal church, I think is wildly irrational, wildly. And I just couldn't live that way. I couldn't live that way because I'm a very logical, rational thinker. I'm a very analytical thinker. I need some kind of foundation. However, you cannot make this world, this earth, this life make any fucking sense whatsoever if there isn't some kind of designer, whether that is Yahweh God or whether that is the Hindu God, or I don't care. I don't know, but I know that it wasn't from nothing. Nothing never creates something, and nothing absolutely never creates all the shit that we see in this world. That does not happen. And then if you get deeper, as we've already kind of discussed, if you get deeper into things like the Fibonacci sequence in nature, and then you see the fact that like the entire financial system, which is based on human psychology, is all built off of the Fibonacci sequence, which again is found in nature, there's no freaking way. You have to be the most delusional person in the world to think that this all happened by accident. But does that mean that the Christian faith is right? No. It means that something is out there. Something is out there. If we can at least agree on that, then we can have a conversation. But if you are honestly, if your view is that everything is just random, it all came from nothing, one, you're violating a law of science already, because something can't come from nothing. That's a scientific law. Yet at the same time, atheists who praise science will say that everything came from nothing, violating their own personal beliefs, and then get pissed off when Christians violate their own personal beliefs. Can't we all just be, hey, I'm irrational, you're irrational, every single person in that chat right now is absolutely irrational. You are, because you're a person. You're fueled by emotion, you're fueled by what you grew up to see and believe, you're fueled by your life experiences. Nobody is perfect, nobody is objective, and nobody is unbiased. So it's a matter of, can you dial yourself in enough to come to a place where you can truly recognize, when am I being irrational? I have, because I've reflected for years and years and years, and now I know, like, hey, my belief in these Christian concepts, they're irrational, but they make sense to me because of this, this, and this. At the same time, these Christian beliefs are absolutely irrational, and I have no way of justifying them in a way that personally makes sense to me. It just seems delusional. Therefore, I don't adhere to those things. The problem with Christianity that I bet you being an atheist and me would agree on, is that the problem is that the normal Christian, the average Christian, even if they recognize something as delusional or irrational within their faith system, they will adhere to it, believe it, and defend it anyways out of social pressure. That's what you want to avoid. That is what you want to avoid. Because that is what causes faith systems to become broken and to cause problems. If everybody was just open and honest and was able to self-reflect and see, hey, this doesn't quite add up, but these are my reasons for why I believe it. And those things sure as hell don't add up. So there's no way in hell I'm going to adhere to them, defend them, or believe them. The problem is most people aren't like that. Most people aren't that self-reflective. That is the issue. There is my spiel. Now I'm gonna shut up and read a little bit more so we can get out of here. I don't know where I stopped, so we're gonna start at 7. And after these comes out the south winds through 3 doors. Through the first door of them inclining to the east comes out a hot wind. And through the middle door, next to it, there comes out fragrant smells and dew and rain and prosperity and health. And through the third door, which lies to the west, dew comes out and also rains, locusts and desolation. And from the 7th door in the east comes the north winds and dew and rain, locusts, and also desolation. And from the center door comes health and rain and dew and prosperity. And through the 3rd door in the west come cloud and hoarfrost and snow and rain and dew and locusts. And after these came the 4 west winds. Through the first door adjoining the north come out dew and hoarfrost and cold and snow and I suppose regular frost. And from the center door come out dew and rain and prosperity and blessing. And through the last door, which adjoins the south, come drought and desolation and burning and destruction. And the 12 doors of the 4 quarters of heaven are therewith completed, and all their laws and all their plagues and all their benefactions. And benefactions have I shown you, my son, Methuselah. I am having such a hard time reading this evening. Such a hard time. Thankfully, we are done. So book out. I'll hang out for like 5 minutes and then I gotta run. I'm gonna spend some time with Kat. We have a couple things we need to do before, like I said, before the work week. Where's the Bible? There you go. All right. Mikkel, did I miss anything important or anything that I should try to pull up in the chat? Did I miss anything of substance that we should be discussing? Michael, I'm sure you're already gone, but enjoy your dinner. Have a lovely week if I don't see you before then. And science says we are fish, then poof, man. Yeah. I mean, the theory of evolution as taught in school is kind of silly. The theory of evolution as a concept, it's not a bad theory. It's not a bad theory. And I get where it comes from because adaptation. But we will do the evolution and adaptation Thursday discussion because I think it would be really good. And hopefully we get some of these atheist guys in there so we can have a coherent conversation, and a bit of a debate wouldn't be a bad thing. Hopefully I can get somebody to come on voice with me and we can have an actual conversation about it. But it's interesting. The theory of evolution is interesting. It's all good. No, I'm gonna hang out 5 minutes. 5 minutes. Cat can wait 5 minutes. So at 7:15 I'll be out of here. But thank you. I do appreciate it. I wanna spend some time before the craziness starts, man. Who made the laws? Man, if you like laws made by man, you probably like Isaac Newton. And if you like Isaac Newton, you will love the fact that he calculated Jesus Christ would return in 2060. Is that true? Did Isaac Newton predict the coming of Christ in 2060? That'd be pretty interesting. If you're in the Discord, I'll send you some short vids on Simsu. Didn't create us out of nothing. Ghostgate, send those in Discord anyways. I don't think I've seen what you're talking about. I'd be interested to see it. What happens when you close your eyes and create a scenario in your mind? You didn't create that thought out of nothing. However, no material was used either. So Ray, can you not conceptualize things in your mind? Can you not conjure up thoughts with images? And I'm not being sarcastic because there are people who can't do that. So interesting thing here. While we're on our way out, Kat, I love you. Interesting thing here. So they did a study, and I could probably find it, but just do some Googling. There it is. Mystic said it. So I didn't know the word for it, but I think that's what it is, right? So there are people out there who, if you tell them to imagine an apple, they can't do it. They can't picture it in their head, which to me is mind blowing. Because all I do all day is imagine and picture things, and like my mind is just running constantly. And I'm able to see things in my head. So if you tell me visualize an apple, I can visualize an apple right now and still read the chat like behind it. But I can see an apple. I can see like the leaf off the stem. I can see the wormhole in it. I can see all of it very clearly. I had no idea that there are people walking around who can't do that. I thought that's how the human brain worked. I thought that everybody could do that. They can't. And there's varying degrees of it. So there are people like who can picture it, but they have to close their eyes. They have to really focus. They can't be hearing anything in their ear. And then they can picture the apple. And then there are people who just literally, no matter what, they're in a totally silent room in the dark, and they cannot picture an apple. They know what an apple is, so they understand what it is, but they cannot picture it in their head. That was mind-blowing to me. Absolutely mind-blowing. So for people like that, I guess I kind of get why you would perceive the world in a different way. I personally can't fully understand it because I don't perceive the world in that way. I'm able to see anything in my head, like in vivid detail, while also looking at other stuff. I don't know. It's hard to conceptualize what is going on in somebody else's head. It's a tough thing. Someone should do a study on that. What percentage of people with that condition are atheists versus theists? That would be an amazing study. Yes, that would be a wild study. It'd be really hard to do, but yeah, that would be a really, really awesome study. Okay, so Ray can do it. So then when you close your eyes and you picture something, you are creating something. It's just not tangible, right? Well, we have our next hypothetical sacrificial offering, and Ghostgate cult members cast your vote. Jesus Christ. God. Oh my gosh. Mikkel, I'm actually going to create the shirt and the hat, just so you know. I decided earlier today when I was reading through some of the stuff you wrote on Discord, and I decided I'm gonna do it. And I'll do it as cheap as possible. So if anybody actually wants to buy it, it's like nothing, you know. So I don't make any money off it. Just pay for cost. But I think it'd be hilarious. If you're out buying flame retardant. Oh, are we sacrificing by fire? This took a dark turn, y'all. This took a very dark turn. This whole group took a very dark turn. JWP can do it. Can picture things in his head. Can the sacrifice be liposuction? You can have all my fat. Fair enough. I mean, apparently we're burning people as the sacrifice. So, I mean, inadvertently, the fat would also go away. The problem is that the rest of you would also go away. Oh, Ghost, I'll miss our conversations. Ghost can't go anywhere. We need him here. We need Scott though too. It's impossible, man. We need to go outsource for the sacrifices, which is usually how sacrificing works anyways. We need to go outsource and find people who should no longer be on this earth, which we all know there are people like that. I don't mean to be mean, but there are people who don't necessarily need to be here. Let's bring them in and let's sacrifice them. We can't just sacrifice all of our very high quality members of the group. That doesn't make sense. We need to restructure the sacrificial program. We need to get everybody together and vote on how to deal with this. We had our first sacrifice on Thursday. We did. JWP, he earned it. Yeah. Oh, so only kind of random. I have a feeling at this trajectory, we are not long for YouTube. I'm going to need to start getting a backup ready to go. This is not random. I mean, it wasn't random. We literally ran a poll and Scott was voted to be sacrificed. And he was a good sport about it. Mad respect to Scott. The original Wicker Man 1973 movie is scary. Isn't Wicker Man like a... Isn't that like a spy movie? I could be wrong. The bees. The bees. Sacrificed by bees? Y'all, look up Asian killer bees. Asian killer bees. They are now stateside. They are here. They're called murder hornets. And they are freaking terrifying. Terrifying. The remake with Nicolas Cage with the bees was hilarious. Oh, I have no idea what you guys are even talking about. The Wicker Man. The meme that keeps on giving. Dude, I'm so out of the loop with like memes and stuff like that. I'm so uncultured, you might say. The Wicker Man. All right, we'll look. Kat and I will watch it. Yeah, they're scary. The bees. The murder bees, the murder hornets are terrifying. Terrifying. And they are here. I think they're in Washington State. But they were Asian killer bees that are like, they're like big. They're big. And they have the capacity to kill full-grown humans. Like full-grown men are getting taken out left and right by these murder hornets. It's wild. Wild stuff. Wild time to be alive, y'all. Wild time to be alive. What about the cougar? What cougar? Is this from the movie still? That's all going right over my head. Kat, we need to watch The Wicker Man. Or whatever it was called. Yeah, The Wicker Man. Anyone who violates the first code of ethics in Matthew 5:9 will be sacrificed for the cult's good. We just need to run a poll every stream, at the end of every stream. And I guess just whoever gets voted gets sacrificed. Because don't we need to sacrifice every stream? Or maybe once a week. Maybe every Thursday. We'll do a sacrifice. No codes. Then we'll be a real cult. Well, if you're going to do it, man, you got to do it all the way, Mystic. If we're going to be a cult, we got to be a cult. The cougar mountain lion? Yeah, but what do you mean? What cougar mountain lion? The murderous cougar mountain lion? I think they're pretty cute. And then I will actually run. And no, ice cream won't save me that time. Oh, you and your ice cream. And your large popcorn bowls of cereal. I love it. I love it, man. All right, guys. I'm out. I'm out. I love you guys. I will see you Thursday. Sorry I had a hard time reading. I was a little frazzled when we started this evening. So thank you for your patience. You are all adored massively. I will see y'all in Discord, and then I will get the poll up because I don't think I did it already. Actually, let me show it. I think there's a few people in here that I don't necessarily recognize that much. If you want to join the Discord, anybody who is not already in Discord, everybody else, you are good to bail. There is a link to Discord. Just so you know, every Thursday we do a stream similar to this. However, I do not read anything. It's an open discussion about a topic that you guys vote on. The poll goes in the announcement section of the Discord. It runs for, depending on what's going on, 2 days. Oh, we already ran it. Yeah, it ended 30 minutes ago. All right, so what won? Authentic prayer. Part two. So we did part 1 of authentic prayer. We talked about some of the history of prayer, different religions, how they pray, why they pray, what prayer looks like. And then this will be a part 2 of it because we got kind of deep into it and we ran out of time. So this Thursday, we will be doing authentic prayer. We'll go into some of the history of prayer still that we didn't cover last time. Some of the different religious practices that have to do with prayer. And then just like, what is authentic prayer? Because I have a huge gripe with these repetitive prayers that people do in church. It kind of drives me absolutely insane. So I'll rant and rave about it a little bit. We'll talk about some of the history. We'll talk about other religions outside of Christianity, and then how it applies now. What is the difference between these scripted prayers and more of an authentic from the heart prayer, stuff like that. So that'll be Thursday, but every week you get to vote on that. That all happens in the announcement section. And now I am out. I love you guys. I will see you all in Discord.